Hi, my name is Dr. John Tyus. I'm the founder of the ID movement. I'm so excited that you all are joining us today. We had a little glitch before, so if you tuned in earlier, it's all right for those 10 seconds, but we're back right now. And I'm back here with my brother, the man in the city of Columbus, Ohio, the great Sean Grant. He has a lot of titles, okay? He's the CFO, the CAO of Smart Columbus. Let me make sure I'm not going to get this wrong. The partnership. One Columbus. He sits on every board in Columbus. He's just the man. So I'm excited to have him with me today. How you doing, brother?
I am great, Dr. John. Appreciate it. It's a pleasure to be joining you here this evening. You're gracious in your praise, and so I'm definitely not doing that much, but I definitely appreciate you recognizing that I do wear multiple hats with multiple organizations, but it's a pleasure to be here and joining you today.
Yeah, man. No, you're the man. You've done a lot, and Columbus thanks you. And not only Columbus today, but more importantly, Columbus tomorrow thanks you for everything you're doing today. Ever since I met you, maybe 5 years ago, you was always very upbeat rather, and engaging. And it was somebody I was like, that's somebody that I definitely want to make sure I stay connected to and keep learning from and growing with. So thank you for your time. As you all know, Mr. Grant is in the new book. The ID Movement presents Voices of the Sons, Letters from the Emerging. You got your book. You didn't tell me that. It's okay. Letters from the Emerging Leaders, Columbus edition. He's one of the great men on this book. I encourage you all to get it. I didn't put that in the description because that was in the former description of the live that we were about to do, but I'll make sure you all get that link. Pick up the book. We have some great thought and leaders from Columbus, Ohio, part of this. So let's start off. So who is Sean Grant?
Yeah. Thanks, Dr. John. I'm a father. Yeah. I'm a son, and I am a husband. Mm-hmm. And my real job is my day job. The day job, my day and night job is being that person, right?
Wow. Yeah,
husband, father, and son. And so that's what keeps me grounded. Mm-hmm. Outside of that, they give me the ability to do all the other things that I do in terms of my occupation, working for the great organizations that I work for, and also contributing to the community at large. There's lots of sacrifice by all of those people to allow me to do what I do and wear all the hats that I wear. And so that's basically who I am. I grew up. I was born in Cleveland, Ohio. Grew up all over the U.S. as an Air Force kid. Grew up most of my formative life in Omaha, Nebraska. So I'm a Midwestern boy to the core. And but at the end of the day, my focus, at least in this stage in my career, in this stage of my life, is how do I support and give back to the community in a large way. Legacy means something to me. Want the world better off than it was when I came into it, and want to leave the world at least moving forward in that direction long after I'm gone. And so you got a limited amount of time here on this earth, and I'm pressed on utilizing it as much as I can.
Got you, man. We seem to be breaking up just a tad. Okay. I thank you for everything, man, that you're doing. I think that's great. Now, can you explain to the people a little bit of what you do? In as far as the hats that you wear? We know about the father. We're going to talk a little bit about that. We know about the son and the husband, all that great work. But what is something that you do as far as you said the Columbus Partnership and One Columbus? And can you explain that to us so the people are a little bit more?
Yeah, no, that's happy to do that. The Columbus Partnership is a membership organization of 75 of Columbus's leading businesses and institutions. Yeah. So these 75 or so CEOs come together to advance a community vision of having the most prosperous region in the nation, right? And so they have a vision of how does Columbus become the most prosperous region, and what are all the mechanisms that need to be in place in order for us to achieve that vision.
Mhm.
And so they focus on things like economic development as the core of what the partnership is focused in on. And economic development drives everything else in our community in terms of getting great access to jobs, great opportunities to expand our economy, and providing avenues for folks to get to that next rung of the economic ladder, right? And so that's where economic development comes into play. And so these CEOs, they get in a room and they come together to address issues and opportunities to advance economic development, smart mobility, public policy, education, leadership development, downtown development, you name it, across the board, Dr. John. These CEOs are focusing on those efforts. As part of that, one of those focuses, again, was economic development, and that started the creation of Columbus 2020 back in 2010, right?
Yeah.
Columbus 2020 was formed in 2010 with this aspirational goal of how can we reach goals that we've never achieved in this community in any previous decade. So it was a 10-year plan, a 10-year goal. That's where the 2020 comes in as part of the name. And so within 10 years, can we get to 150,000 net new jobs? Can we have $10 billion in investment in capital investment? Can we raise per capita income by 30% over that same period of time? So these were the aspirational goals that we had never achieved in this community in any previous decade. And so that organization was formed in 2010 to do simply just that: go after and focus on those goals. And by doing so, by attracting great companies to the region, bringing great companies from all across the nation and even internationally, and selling the story of why Columbus is a great place to live, work, and play. Yeah. And so our team, with a 20-person team, a lot of A personalities on that team, go-getters, and just go and sell Columbus to the masses, to the business community. And so over a 10-year period of time, we had great successes. When you hear about a new company that's coming to the market, that generally we had something to do with it. Whether you hear about an Amazon or a Facebook or a Google or even lesser known names, we are engaged in those efforts every single day. That's what we wake up with, and that's what we go to sleep with, is trying to attract companies to Columbus. For those companies that are already here, we want them to grow right here in the market. We don't want them leaving, going to Houston, going to Atlanta, going to Indianapolis, even Cincinnati or Cleveland. We want them to grow right here, again, with this goal of creating jobs within our community. And so just like we travel the world, there's other states and communities that come to our region as well and talk to our great companies, trying to attract them to their location as well. And so we work with those companies that are local, provide them avenues and incentives to not only and double down on why they've invested here in the first place and why you should continue to invest right here in the region as opposed to someplace else. And then the last pillar of that is, how do we support high growth companies? Right. And so when you hear about all the great companies that have gone from a startup to $1 billion valuation, and they're known in this community, it's Root Insurance, it's Cover My Meds, it's all those companies that 5 years ago didn't exist, Dr. John, and now they do, and now they're major employers right here in Columbus as well. So we support that ecosystem as well. And so that all that is encompassed in economic development. So at the end of the 10 years, achieving those goals, we actually did it in 8 years. In 2019, we started looking back on our history and all the things we accomplished and all the things that we had done. And we're like, okay, what is the next decade going to look like? Yeah. And how do we engage more people in this prosperity that we're having as a region, or that we want to have as a region, and that it's more inclusive as a region? Yeah. And so in 2019, we came out with a new vision of the most prosperous region in the United States. And that's where every citizen within our region is doing better, both economically and socially as well. And so, so what does that mean? that means that we track those things that we as an economic development organization aren't really responsible for. Like we do the blocking and tackling of attracting companies and retaining companies and retaining jobs, and supporting high growth businesses. But we have nothing to do with affordable housing, for example.
Gotcha.
The poverty rate, for example. These things are areas that we hope through our work, some of those gaps were being filled, but overall in the grand scheme of things in the economy, there were still gaps. Everyone didn't participate in that prosperity that we had over the previous decade. And so now how do you monitor how you are against other metros, other like metros, like size metros, and how are you comparing in all those other social economic areas throughout your community? Because you can't be a great community if you're not taking care of the least of us, right? And so, and you can't have the most prosperous region if you don't take care of those who are at the bottom rung of the ladder and then help them get to the next rung and move up the scale. And so we started looking at these issues critically throughout our community and came up with a plan and a strategic plan of how we would move forward, who we would gauge in this work. And so I think this next decade, I think you're going to see a more, people call it inclusive economic development. I think it's more a holistic economic development that's there for everyone. So everyone participates in all of the growth and prosperity that's going to happen in this region. We know that by 2050, there's another 1 million people are going to come, right? And they're going to be right here in Columbus, Ohio. So we have to close some of the gaps that exist in our community. And that includes the racial wealth gap, that includes the income gaps, that includes the affordable housing gaps, and all the other gaps that exist in this community. The educational gap, the innovation desert gaps. There's all these gaps in our community that we still have to address, even though we spent a decade doing great things for this community. We still just have so much more work that we can do. And my set of organizations, whether that's Smart Columbus, One Columbus, and the Columbus Partnership, are laser focused in those areas, in those ways.
Man, wow. See, now y'all know why I chose him to be in the book, because Mr. Grant is the man. I'm trying to tell y'all. Listen, man, so clearly you're very driven to help. Your heart seems to be pointed the direction of building people up and helping people go to that next level, whether it is just in our city or is it on an individual basis. What do you think attributed to that? What caused you rather to become that type of motivated person? What was it?
Well, yeah, that's good. That's a good question, and I think that it's partly upbringing.
Yeah.
It's partly mentors that I've had in my life.
Yeah.
It's partly coming from humble beginnings, and having people along the way help guide me and pull me and show me what's necessary in order to achieve some level of success, right? Some level of motivation and drive to get to where you need to get to. A lot of it is driven from, my mom, who's motivated and focused and a person that instilled drive within me. Wouldn't let me sit on my laurels or be satisfied with who I thought I was, right? Always with this idea of how do you become better, but also as you're becoming better, how do you bring those along with you who are maybe going through the same struggle or even less fortunate than whatever seat you're in. There's always someone less fortunate than you. And so how do you help bring them along with you as you continue to grow and move forward? And so, sports helped with that as well, growing up playing all the sports. So, as you do that, those motivations stick with you throughout your life. That drive, that will to compete, that will to become better, is also part of it, and helps in helping you learn how to be a driver, right?
Yeah. So you have all these people helping you out. In your letter, you really talk heavy about your teachers and their influence over your life, right? You talk about several teachers that you really had great influence. You mentioned one in particular, and I don't want to misspell or mispronounce rather her name, I believe it was Miss Green.
Yeah, Mr. Green. Yeah, my sixth grade teacher. I mean, she still resonates with me, right? Still
Yeah,
sticks
they
with
do.
me.
They do.
She was she was my first teacher
Yeah.
who, mind you, keep in mind that from the time I left Cleveland at the age of 5, I never had another. I didn't have another African American teacher until sixth grade, till Miss Green.
Wow.
And I remember in fifth grade, I heard about, wondering what class you were going to get in sixth grade, because Miss Green was no joke. I heard all the stories that Miss Green was no joke. And, I got in her class and she wasn't, but she expected excellence from everyone, but especially me, because I look like her. And she knew the challenges that were before me, right? Challenges that I didn't anticipate, challenges I couldn't have known in sixth grade. But she instilled in me just that thought process of, Sean, you are just as good, you're just as smart, you can do anything. And mind you, as I think I stated in the book, reminded me of my mom. Like, there's lots of things that translated from her are the same things that I was hearing in my household. But there's something powerful about hearing it from someone outside of your parents, right?
Very true.
And so, your mom loves you, so you just think like, okay, you're going to tell me I can be anything, and yeah, right, mom. But then Miss Green was the first one who said, no, Sean, like, you have it within you to become whoever you want to be, and I'm not going to let you fail. I'm not going to let you get comfortable in just getting by. Wow. And she would call me out. She's like, I know you didn't even try on this assignment, did you? She would know. She would know whether, I did work or not. And I remember parent-teacher conferences where my mom would show up and they're just chatting it up, man. And they're like two peas in the pod talking about me. Yeah. And but through that experience, I tell you what, that experience changed my life in ways that still stick with me today. And it takes just and I talk about all the teachers in my life that I met that I've had throughout my career, but it was that experience in particular that stood out for me, that instilled in me some things that I don't think I had before.
Got you.
Because I heard it from someone who looked like me, right? Yeah. Who looked like me and had nothing but my best interest at heart. And I felt it in every facet of how she talked to me. And sometimes very, very candid and very strict and very straight words, similar to what I would get at home. And wouldn't let me just pass on a cute smile and an afro.
Yeah. You had an afro then, by
back
the way?
In the day. Hey, man, okay. It's been a longer time ago, but
yes, sir. Yeah, that's crazy, and I think we all need a Miss Green in our life. Someone is going to tell us the truth, whether we like it or not, for the sake of making us better and helping us to achieve the goals that we not yet know that we can achieve. We need people to be able to see beyond our moments, and thank God for somebody like Miss Green, right?
No doubt.
You also have some other mentors. It was one of your I believe you said like your uncles. Sharing with you. Do you want me to say it? They was talking about the misses. But what type of misses were they talking about?
It's great that I had to share my story about him, but just because his name is Mr. Vaughn. His name's Cleveland Vaughn. He's no longer with us. Great man, great mentor, and was like an uncle to me. But at a very young age, as I was going through my adolescence, he would show up. I mean, he's a family friend, so he would come through, and the first thing after he said hello to me was, "Hey, Sean, I don't want you, chasing these girls." Yeah. He's like, I got girlfriends for you. They're called Miss Math, Miss English, Miss Science, all the Miss. And I looked up to Mr. Vaughn just because, this is a guy that I'm African American male who was Fish and Wildlife agent, right, for the Fish and Wildlife Service. Like, this guy loved hunting, he loved fishing, and was the first person I had met like that in this kind of line of work. And
Yeah.
so he would take me, I'd go fishing with him. But just one of the smartest people that I ever met early in my adolescence, and his focus on school and the Englishes, the Miss Englishes and the Miss Math and the Miss Sciences resonated with me because, he's like, yeah, you can get caught up in chasing girls and you think you're somebody because you play these sports and, you're a quarterback and all these other, he's like, nah, forget all that. He's like, I want you, this is where I want you to focus at. And place your emphasis and your focuses on that. Don't lose sight of these things as you go through becoming all these other things that you think you are. Focus on the core, and the core was Miss Math, Miss English, Miss Science, Miss Literature. So that resonates with me even to this day.
Yeah, man. I was telling Sean, everybody. I said he had a lot of misses in his young years. He had a lot of misses. But they was the right ones.
They were the right ones.
I'm grateful for that, man. English, math, and literature and
science. Yeah,
science. You was focused on those areas, though, in the sense of you mentioned something in the book that you wasn't going to rely on your sports. But that really opened up a kind of another world to you that you had to rely on another skill set.
And Dr. John, I would tell you that panned out for me well. It worked for me well, and I didn't know it at the time, right? So, I was in high school, and I played quarterback, and I was being recruited by some schools and big schools, and thought thought I was somebody, and thought I was going places, right? And my senior year of high school, tore my knee, and those schools, those scholarships, those opportunities went away from me. And where I thought I had a roadmap for where I was going to go, how I was going to get to school, the whole 9 yards. Mind you, I had a single mother that was raising me, and a college scholarship was my ticket to, no, Mom, don't worry about paying for college. It's taken care of. And then my knee got thrown out, and it took the reliance on education and education alone to get me into my school of choice that I ended up going to, which is a small private liberal arts college in Iowa called Simpson College. And that's when all the things that Mr. Vaughn had taught me kind of clicked in for me. Like, you're right, Mr. Vaughn. I didn't know I was going to blow my knee my senior year.
Yeah.
I didn't know that I was going to have this obstacle before me that was going to make me rely on other tools that I didn't even know that I needed to equip myself with before you started emphasizing the emphasis on Miss Science, Miss Math, Miss English, and the like. So very, I don't know if he's a fortune teller or what, but prepared me for my future long before I knew that was my future.
Now, how did you feel after you blew your knee?
Oh, I was devastated.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was initially devastated, and I would tell you that probably I was in depression for a long period of time. Because there I had coaches that by this time I had formed relationships with, relationships with my mom, had been to the house for dinner kind of thing, right? And these were major schools in the Midwest, and those relationships were gone, and I was devastated by that because of all the promises that were set before me, and how those things just went away. And I was probably more disappointed that, all right, now I got to find a way to get into school, because mind you, not going to school was not an option.
Right. I understand.
In my household, there wasn't an option, and so I was going to school. And so now it was, how do I figure out how to make that happen? And it took some time for me to get there, but figured it out really quickly. And after going through this process, but also by talking it over with, my mom and my mentors that were advising me on, it's okay. Like, this happens. This isn't the end of the road. You got a lot more to offer, and don't let this one thing get in your way.
I love that, man. In the book also, you labeled or laid out rather so many different things that people need to know in order to succeed. Certain things that we need. It was one thing that you said, and I really wanted to point it out. I want to get it right. I believe it was the last lesson you left, or you stated rather. You talked about being driven. You talked about believing in yourself. You talked about networking,
Yep.
which is very crucial. This is what touched me on a different level. You said, be slow to judge your parents.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's powerful. That's powerful because a lot of times when we're in the moment, we don't really see what the parents are going through until we're older.
Right.
And I think that's something that young people need to know about.
Yeah.
Can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, thanks, Dr. John, on that one, because that one stood out for me just because as you're going through your life and your parents are making decisions, and they're making decisions on making decisions that you do not know why they're making those decisions, right? And there may not even be decisions that you even agree with, or if you feel like that if you were in that situation, you might do something totally opposite.
Yeah.
But you do not know all the things that they're trying to navigate and balance, all the pressures that are on them, and how they're just trying to do right by you at the end of the day. And I think about my parents. I share in the book that my parents were 17 and 19 when I was born. Wow. And they never married. And I as a kid, you always want that for your parents, right? You always want them together. But more importantly, you also think about decisions that they've made that you didn't agree with. Like moving multiple times in my life is not a decision that I took well as a kid. Right? Yeah. Not a decision that I took well as a kid. But understanding that every time we did that, it was to better our lives in some way, shape, or form. That as a kid, I didn't have any idea what that would mean or what was being balanced in order to to do some of these things. And so, even the challenges of, I remember, Dr. John, my mom working multiple jobs when I was growing up as a kid. I was literally a latchkey kid. I'd come home from school. My mom's off to work, off to her second job, and dinner's in the fridge. Put it in the microwave for 3 minutes. Do your homework, and I'll see you in the morning, kind of thing. Like that was my life. Yeah, I miss my mom a lot. But she was making sacrifices. She's doing things to make things better for me. And so there are things in which we as children, and mind you, I want that same grace for my kids, right? Sure. There are decisions that I am making that they may not agree with, they may not even like. But I am doing it out of love or what I think is best at that time. Yeah. With trying to get it right. Like we're all trying to do what's right on behalf of our kids. And I felt like even though I didn't agree all the time with my parents and their decisions and the like, that at the end of the day, I felt like I realize now that my best interest was always at the heart of their decisions. Right. And I want that same grace for my kids as they look at our decisions and look at how we're navigating this life and choices that we're choosing to make and choices we're choosing not to make, and know that there's a reason behind it. And it's all comes from a place of love and of wanting a better life for them and better experiences for them.
Wow, man, I think it's powerful. I think grace is something we're not compelled to give until it's something we need. And once we need it, then we're like, oh, wow, it kind of humbles us.
Yeah.
It brings forth the spirit of empathy, and makes us look back. And because it's a prime example is having my own daughter, my wife and I having our child. And once I had a kid, I was less judgmental on parents.
Funny how that happens.
Man, I was like, ooh, here I am. Get them together. They out here screaming and at the restaurant, and I'm Lord have mercy, I said to God, I said, I'll never judge another parent like that just because experience, and when you need grace, you give grace.
Right. Right.
And it's something like that for children to understand that parents is trying, even if they make mistakes, because they're human, and they're, we're learning as we're going.
Right.
And a lot of times children rather blame parents until they get of age, and that's why they become so close with them when they get older.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that you can't judge.
Sure.
I'm just saying take your time to do that, and you may not realize, um, why some decisions were made or why things happened, um, but understand that fundamentally your parents love you, and your parents are trying their best, and sometimes without the benefit of experience or even experience from their own childhood or lives
Right.
as well.
Right.
So that's an important piece of it that I think gets lost in that. Lots of times we're still trying to figure it out. We're trying to put the plane together while we're flying it.
Exactly.
And that's a challenge in and of itself. So that means that you're gonna make mistakes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you're not gonna always get it right. And guess what? Making a mistake isn't the end of the world.
That's right.
It's how you react and how you respond to that mistake and how you overcome it. It's not just resting in it and letting that define who you are and what you are, and how you're seen. It's what you do after you make the mistake that's the important thing.
I love it. I love it, man. And well, powerful conversation. Something else that you shared in the book, you really highlighted women. And that's something that I do with the young men through the ID movement that we mentor. I try to get them to appreciate their mothers.
Yeah.
Try to make sure they understand the sacrifice that mothers have made, and mothers had to step up into, and roles they had to step into. And, they walk away with a sense of more of an appreciation. So you highlight that in the book, that honor the women in your life.
Yeah.
Women.
Yeah, and I think that's powerful, and I wrote my piece of it from providing guidance to my sons, right? And it's this idea of as you go through your life, and I'm the product of lots of great women who have impacted me in ways that are profound, and I think I talk about my grandmother and my aunts on my dad's side, my two great aunts on my dad's side, Auntie Leah and Auntie Jean. I talk about my cousins, my first cousins all my first cousins are females, which is crazy. And so, and then I talk about, my own daughter, and my mom, and then lastly, the love of my life, my wife. Right. And so I think that embracing of the women in your life and the challenges that they have, like we have challenges as men,
sure,
but our challenges don't equate. I don't, no matter which way I turn it, no matter which way I look at the obstacles before us, our women have challenges in spades compared to us. Yeah, we're the ones that, there's lots of us being, dying in the streets, and that's the thing that gets the news. But left behind is a mother, an aunt, a sister who is dealing with the death of their son, their husband, their uncle, and he's gone. And these mothers are left to deal with that grief and deal with standing up for us in lots of ways.
Yeah.
And mind you, at the end of the day, I truly feel, and I say this in the book, there is nothing in life that will motivate you, cause you to get up and make things happen than your relationship and your engagement with the women in your life. That's going to drive you to do things that you don't even think that you can do, and make you achieve heights that you don't even think that you can achieve. And you hear all the negative things that are said about our women specifically, and there's challenges that we all face, but to be Black and female is no joke. and
Yeah, man.
we have to embrace them, care for them through every step of that. We don't necessarily have to always agree with them, because hey, men are from Mars and women are from Venus, but we have to appreciate their challenges, their obstacles, and love them through all of it. I think that's very important. Sometimes we get caught up in our own stuff, and sometimes our own male stuff, that we forget about the love and care and relationships and partnerships that we have with the women in our lives, because we're all products of women, and in some way, shape, or form, a woman has touched you in some way.
For sure. Yeah, I like to say all the time, it's I am who I am today because of my mother. My father passed when I was 8 years old, and obviously we, with the ID movement, we focus on developing men, but it is so crucial. I am who I am because of my mother.
Yeah.
That I can't say more than that, because that's exactly everything that it sounds like is exactly what it is. It's because of her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And John, Dr. John, I feel the exact same way.
Yeah.
Like, it's no joke to raise a boy into a man as a single mother, and try to make that happen, right? And for I always say, but for the grace of God, but I've been blessed along the way. I had a great mom who helped instill in me and bring folks into my life that would help make me a better person. And that is continued on in my life as I meet people like yourself who are doing great things in this community, that for whatever reason I am drawn to as a magnet. These people that are doing great things in our community, that are trying to elevate the discourse about not only our Black men, but our community as a whole.
Yeah.
And I'm drawn to those folks who are motivated in that way, who are doing great things, who care more about others than they do of themselves in some way, and are willing to give of themselves in these ways and in these efforts. And that comes directly from my mom.
I love it, man. Sean, it has been an honor talking to you tonight, man. I'm going to end like this. I'm gonna throw some names at you, right?
Okay.
I want you to tell me the first thing that comes to mind.
Okay.
Names, situation, people. I'm just gonna throw them at you, and just share what comes first to your heart.
All right, you didn't prepare me for this. I
didn't tell you about this, man. Grant.
Servant.
Sean Grant.
Optimist.
Beautiful. Nebraska.
Cornhuskers.
Okay. Cleveland.
Cleveland. Yeah, that's my home away from home. First thing came to my mind was Browns. Everyone knows I'm a Browns fan, but that's my home away from home.
Yeah. My parents is from Cleveland, by the way, as well. So well, I have a lot of family in Cleveland. Miss Math.
Still with me to this day.
Clearly. Right? Clearly.
Hey, let me go. She won't. Hey, I can't quit her. She doesn't quit me. So we're still together.
She ain't leaving you. She ain't leaving you. She's loyal. She's a loyal one. Isn't
loyal. She keeps giving, and I keep taking. That's for sure.
For sure. Miss Green.
Transformational.
The Columbus Partnership.
That's a good one, John. I literally got so many words going through my head right now with that, because I feel like the Columbus Partnership, as great as I think the organization is on the cusp of being so much better.
Wow.
And so I guess my word is emerging.
Emerging. What a great word, right? Emerging. Mentorship.
Vital.
Legacy.
At this stage in my life, it's everything.
Servant leader.
That's how I try to live my life.
Lastly, Sean Grant.
Good friend. Try to be a good father. Try to be a great husband. Stories still yet to be written on that.
Wow. Well, I don't think there's a better place to end right there than right there, rather. So let's thank you all for tuning in. Hey, everybody watching, make sure you hit that like button, that share button. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to the channel. We need all those subscriptions so we can continue to interview all of these people, engage with these people. We have some great stuff coming down the pipeline. The great Sean Grant, thank you so much, brother.
Thank you, Dr. John. Let me just say again, man, I was humbled to be a part of this project. I read your last one from the fathers, was moved by that project, and I'm part of this project because of you, and to be alongside the rest of these great leaders in this community, these great brothers that are in this book, is humbling. I was humbled by the ask, quite honestly, and excuse me, especially after reading the first book and seeing the great authors that you had as part of that, and I want to thank you for all that you're doing, the ID movement, and what you've done to move this effort forward in a meaningful way. We need great brothers like you out here doing the work that you're doing. You are one of those people that motivate me. Like, how do I get better? How do I do better? And how do I help support and advance all the things that you're trying to do? Because we need this in this community. Because it's bigger than any one of us. And so it takes all of us. And so this work you're doing is important. Again, I'm humbled and appreciative of being a part of this effort, and look forward to your ongoing projects and the other speakers that are going to be part of this. There's some great brothers in here, and everyone should tune in, grab the book. It's a good read, great lessons across the board, and support Dr. John.
Thank you. Wow. Okay. Mr. Grant, it's my honor. Thank you so much. Until next time, you all tune in. We'll be back probably next week with somebody else in the book, another participant. Make sure you go pick it up. I'll drop the link in the description. God bless you all, and we are signing out.